This episode of The Inspiration Show is incredibly special because one of my favorite people and performers is joining me, the incredibly talented Chase Del Rey. Chase has the voice of an angel and has had such a profound impact on my life and my theater journey, and I am so beyond excited to have him join me. This episode is going to be a major Chase Del Slay, so let's get into it and Chase life. Chase, thank you so much for joining me. I have so much love and admiration for you, and I'm so excited to have you here.
That is such a sweet introduction. Thank you for having me.
I'm sorry for the Chase Del Slay joke. I make
No,
it
I
well,
love
I
it.
make it all the time. You're probably
There's
like
many Del
counting.
Rey jokes that I've gotten over the years, but that's one of my faves. The Del Slay is great.
Uh, so when did you discover that you had a passion for singing and theater?
I mean, surprisingly, I worked as a kid in the theater. So in a professional way, which was kind of a rare experience as I've, gotten to know a lot of people that have done this. I started probably when I was 9 years old, working in like kind of equity theaters. So I was kind of the boy soprano before my voice changed. So like they were like, let's grab this kid before his voice changes for like every show in the Los Angeles or Orange County area. To do the boy part in whatever. So I did a lot of the Artful Dodger and Oliver and the kids choir in Evita and like lots of different shows around the Southern California area. And because I started so young in that, and again, like a lot of ensemble, a lot of kids choir parts in bigger regional productions, but because I was working in a regional way so early, I got to really see the lifestyle of like these adults that were leading these casts be like, this is what they do. This is their career. And, from the time I was 9, I got really like a front row, ticket to watching these performers that really do this with their life and make their money and their living and support their families from doing theater. And so I knew that that was a real viable option from a really early point in my career. So from the time I was probably 9 years old, I was like, I think this is what I want to do for real. I obviously love it, but I really think there's people out here that are pulling this off. And I want to be good enough that I can, you know, work in that way too. So yeah, that was kind of my introduction to knowing I wanted to do it.
That's so incredible, and, like, being bit by the theater bug at such a young age and kind of just, like, knowing, like, this is what I wanna do with my life and, like, seeing where you've gone, like, it's so incredible knowing, like, you were just a little kid with these dreams and now you're doing the thing.
Totally,
It's incredible.
totally. My parents still send me in the group chat, in the family group chat, videos of me singing when I was, 10 and, doing doing that world and just so happy. Like I look back at that, I'm like, man, like that being in the theater really like it shaped me. It was the thing I loved the most from such an early age that it really set me in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, oh, greatest gift in the world, I will say
Absolutely.
forever. So what would you say really inspired you to become a performer, and who's been an inspiration of yours throughout your career?
Yeah, the biggest inspiration of mine is it's a little on the nose, but it's Hugh Jackman. I remember when I was in high school, my high school production, that was the big show was Oklahoma, and I didn't really know it. I looked up, who has done this, and I saw that Hugh Jackman did it, and that was kind of cool for like a 16-year-old boy. I was like, oh my god, Wolverine was Curly in Oklahoma, like that's crazy. And so I watched, Hugh do this, and then he was still doing X-Men, like, during my growing up years. I ended up playing Curly in that production. So I had an affiliation, a really strong bond with Hugh from afar. And, that was the guy that I really wanted to be in. Les Mis, the movie came out, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is Jean Valjean. And, it was like, he was really a movie star that loves musical theater. And then along the way, Harold Hill and, now does his own concert at, Radio City. And like, that's just the kind of career that I think he's so versatile and able to bounce between really every medium possible, movies and cameos on TV and theater, and just a really sweet guy too. And I think most people that have worked with him can attest to that. Like I think being a good human, my parents always preach that. Being a good person to be around on top of being talented is is even more important. And so I admire that and people that give off that reputation to people.
Yeah, oh, that's incredible, and I just like, as you were saying, I'm like, I need you as P.T. Barnum when Greatest Showman.
Oh yeah, I would love it. I would love it.
Oh my god, you'd
Absolutely.
be so good. And
Put
wait,
it in
this
the musical.
This is so off topic, but like, didn't Hugh Jackman make you bread? I remember this backstage at Notebook. Did
Yes,
he
this
make you
was this
bread?
was lore. Yes.
I
So, well,
remember this.
sort of. Yes, yes, yes. So there was a girl in our cast, a woman in our cast named Happy, a wonderful swing on the Notebook, and she
Love
ended up
Happy.
Lloyd Collins. Yeah, after she's a star, she's amazing. Shout out Happy. And basically, I didn't even know how this works, but basically, there's to make like sourdough, there's a starter kit that apparently someone has to make the kit, and then you can make a bunch of bread, I think is how this works. I could be getting this wrong. People that are watching this are going to be like, that is not how it works. But bottom line is, this allegedly Happy told me that the starter of this sourdough that she gave me was from Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman was the starter kit of this sourdough. So yes, I was very excited to have like Hugh Jackman's bread for a very long time. But yes, so it does come full circle. We're running in those kind of paths. Our bread is reaching each other somehow.
Oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
butter some bread. Hugh Jackman making you bread. Not everyone can say their greatest inspiration made them bread.
Not, yeah, exactly. Not everybody can say that. So
Yeah.
very, very excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, can you take us back to the first time you experienced theater and how you're feeling at the time?
Yeah. Oh man. The first time I experienced theater. Yeah, I mean my first so this was interesting also. So I was kind of mentioning earlier, I was kind of in the theater scene as a kid. And when I was 9, I did a regional production of Oliver in Los Angeles area. And I played the Artful Dodger, like still a very sentimental role to me.
As
I
you
love
should.
that score. I think it's one of the best scores ever written. Amazing, amazing score. Loved doing it. And I did that. And at the same time, they were casting the national tour for Oliver. And I sent a tape of me doing that, my version of the Artful Dodger, to New York when I was, I think, 10. And they ended up being like, we love you, and come to New York and come to final callbacks. And I went with my dad. I'd never been to New York, and which was crazy. I was 10, had never been to New York. I think we were going for one night, because it was like the callback, and then we had like one night in the city to hang out, me and my dad, and we split a hotel room and like hung out. And he asked me, he said, I did the callback, and he said, you can go to one Broadway show. And I remembered my parents were really obsessed. So it was the year of like Wicked and Avenue Q. And my parents had seen Avenue Q, I think, before Wicked at this time. I can't remember exactly, but basically I was like, I want to, they were always listening to Avenue Q, and I was like, I want to see Avenue Q. And that was my first Broadway musical. It's a pretty raunchy show for a 10-year-old, if you'll recall. But me and my dad went, and we had just a blast. And it was so impressionable. I mean, I remember I went and I did the stage door thing and met all the people. And I remember the guy that was playing Princeton, who's the lead character in Avenue Q, the lead guy, and I was obsessed. Um, he, in his playbill, it said, played the Artful Dodger at one point in his life. And I was like, oh my God, this is so full circle. This is crazy. And I was telling him the story. And the next day I booked that tour. And it was just very full circle. So it was this wild New York trip. But that seeing Avenue Q, and then seeing that this this lead Broadway actor had played the Artful Dodger once upon a time, and it's in his playbill. I was like, this is magical. So it was really kismet, and really, really special. I did not end up going on that tour, by the way, for everybody fact checking. I ended up going to an art school instead, but yeah, it was a hard decision, and I kind of just didn't want to like be held back in school and do the year on the road and then be below all my friends in school. So I was just like, I'm just gonna stay, and at some point, Broadway or tour will find me. So
And it
didn't end
did.
up doing, but yes, Avenue Q was kind of that moment for me.
I love how like the funniest show was the first show that you saw because I have to say, hands down, you're truly like one of the funniest people I know. Like nobody can make me
Oh,
laugh
thank
the
you. I
way you
appreciate
can.
that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
No, like I relate to that so much. Like I was on a tour when I was younger and like I did keep up with
Fun.
my schoolwork. I did a children's production of Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh wow, cool.
So we made that a musical and I toured with that. So that was really special. But like I remember it being so hard because we had a bunch of different troops for like the kids because
Sure.
of all the like laws and stuff. And like I
Yeah.
remember missing school and having to write tests in my dressing room and like I was
Yeah,
living
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
was doing my dream, but I was like on a 2 show day in between
Yeah.
shows. I want to eat my dinner. I don't want to write a science
It's tough. Yeah,
test.
it's a tough
It's tough.
road, but
Yeah.
um, but so fun. I mean, I've seen so many tours, when
Yeah.
I was growing up, and I love so many of the actors that I've seen there that have eventually, I saw Megan Hilty in Wicked. That was my first Glinda, so it's like, or
Mhm.
and Adam Lambert was in that tour cast. It's like, and it's like these people are phenomenal performers and they just go to the moon sometimes. And it's like, oh my God. I hear these stories too. It's like, I saw that person on tour, before they blew up or whatever. Or I saw that person on Broadway and, in the ensemble or as a swing. And it's really fun to watch, careers grow too.
Yeah, no, that's so special, and I think, like you were saying, like, I went to an art school, and I'm at an art school in high school, and I think, like, art schools have a big factor in that, and it's
Totally.
so special getting to see people be like, "I knew you when," and it's so special
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
people do that.
Absolutely. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you graduated from Carnegie Mellon University's School of Drama. Can you
Yes.
share a little bit about your journey auditioning for Carnegie Mellon and what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I it was always my top school. It was,
As it
and
should be.
yeah, it was always my top school. To me, it was the crown jewel of, really, I wanted to be the strongest actor possible, and I also loved musical theater. And so I wanted to always be able to be a Nathan Lane or a Matthew Broderick that can go and do something like The Producers, and also do like, a Ferris Bueller, like a movie, and or Hugh Jackman in that way, to bring it all back. But that was the kind of career I've always wanted, and I always had dreams of playing between many mediums. And I wanted to be the best actor and be as immersed in the craft of acting as possible, and also put that work into the musical theater context, in an acting the song way. I always loved to sing, but I was never super musical. Like, sight reading came a little bit harder for me. And dance came a little bit harder for me. So, I can move on a dance floor, but if I'm picking up choreography quickly, that's a different story. I'm good once I, drill it, but, picking it up quickly at, an audition is a little bit harder for me. So, but I was really, really interested in becoming a great actor. And so Carnegie Mellon was that school. To me, it was kind of the thing that separated Carnegie from a lot of the other schools that are very triple thready. And Carnegie is like really focused on that acting. And then you still take voice and you still take dance. And I had amazing voice and dance professors there, but it was really, really acting focused. And that's still the thing, the type of material that I love to play in here. The Notebook was, it was such a blessing getting to work with Becca Brunsetter's script, and Tony nominee Becca Brunsetter, and she comes from the TV world and wrote an amazing musical theater script, and that tea scene when Noah and Allie meet up again in the second act, that's a testament to great writing, and you need great actors to be able to pull that off. And I was so lucky and fortunate to get to play in that world, and honestly, this is sort of going, this will relate in a second, but basically, after Carnegie Mellon, I didn't do a lot of musicals in between then and the Notebook. I did one show right before the Notebook. I was really I ended up going to LA and shooting a movie right after school, and it just took me a different route. My life ended up in LA, and I was from there, and it was easy. And the pandemic happened, and I just kind of stayed out there. And I was working in, Pasadena Playhouse and doing little roles in TV and film. But I did this one show, a little night music, right before the Notebook. And when I was, so I had this brief experience right before, which I'll get to, I'm sure, at some point in this interview, because that was super influential to me. But when I started the Notebook, it was kind of recalling all of my training again from the musical theater, program at Carnegie Mellon. Like, I had been out of the world for a little while, and then being on that job, I was like, right, like, the simple things, being on stage and getting that exercise, and if I understudied Noah, so I got to really work that every week with the understudy, cast, and get to hone that. It was like being in an acting class. I really got to just play and work and sharpen and recall all of my training that I hadn't really touched in that way, as literally as I did at Carnegie Mellon. So yeah, that training really did prepare me, and it was nice to have that. There's some crazy stuff that goes on at Carnegie Mellon. I don't know if you know the lore of like the animal projects where you have to like be like, I had to be a leopard for like 3 months every day for hours on the floor with knee pads and bruises, and literally just immersed in being a leopard. And then there's another class that's called colors and elements. In one semester, it's colors, the next one is elements, and basically you have to like be yellow. And then you have to like,
Noah Pox told me about this.
yeah, you have to like
Yes.
be yellow. And you're in like a black unitard and a mask, and they're, you're just becoming immersed in these ideas of how to move and experience, your instrument, which sounds so acting teacher of me to even say my instrument. But yes, it's like it really taught me to just go, and that's the really big thing. I think it related to a lot of my audition process for the Notebook, but it was like, Carnegie Mellon really teaches you how to be bold and to like risk failure. Like go for it. If you're gonna go and be yellow, your heart is on your sleeve and it is for everybody to see. And if you look crazy, like, you get very comfortable very quickly at a program like that because you just go. And so that was also something that I learned, of like, how can I just take that unabashed, you know, reckless fun of being able to play like that at Carnegie Mellon. How can I put that into this job in this way? So that was really fun.
That must have been so incredible to take all your training from one of the greatest programs and get to bring it to TV and film and theater because you've done it all. So that must have been so cool to kind of like pick and choose all these different tools from your toolbox and bring it to these different mediums.
Totally.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
So you made your Broadway debut in the Notebook musical, portraying the role of Lon and understudying middle Noah. So before getting cast in the show, were you at all familiar with the story of the Notebook and or have any connection to it? And then why did you feel the need to be part of telling this story?
Yes, I did. I had never seen the movie all the way through, which is crazy.
So you're
I
like, Carson, I have to yell at
Yeah,
you for this.
yeah. It's very interesting. Surprisingly, my first kiss when I was 13 was during The Notebook. So I was
Aw.
like, yes. So it was like there were parts that I saw and parts that I was more preoccupied with having your first kiss. But that's my fun story of The Notebook. That was the one time I had seen parts of The Notebook.
So you took the other
Um,
guy really literally.
yeah, oh, absolutely. So yeah, so I had seen it and knew the story obviously, and I'm a huge Ryan Gosling fan and Rachel McAdams, and I've seen her audition tape on YouTube, and it's a great movie, and anyway, but yeah, at the time I knew they were doing it in Chicago, and I thought they were all set. I was not a part of it out of town. I was doing a different show in LA, and I saw it from afar and was like, wow, that looks really cool. And like they were getting rave reviews in Chicago, and everybody's like, this is the greatest thing we've ever seen. I was like, oh my God, this looks crazy. I can't wait. I was also a huge fan of Ryan Vasquez, who played Middle Noah, because he was Hamilton on the tour. And he was also like a cover for Fierro. And he just played like, and now he was like, Middle Noah in the Notebook. I was like, this guy. And he's also, half Hispanic. And like, we kind of have this like ethnically ambiguous guy in musical theater thing. And I was like, wow, this guy, like, I really admire this guy. And I saw him in the out of town of The Outsiders in La Jolla.
Let's
So
go La Jolla
one of the
production.
greatest things I've ever seen anybody do was Ryan Vasquez in La Jolla. He was amazing. And I got to go because I'm obviously very good friends with Kevin William Paul, who you know.
Bestie, my
Yeah,
king.
so I went to Kevin's opening night at La Jolla and saw Ryan there. So I knew Ryan was about to do that, or I think maybe he had just done the Notebook and then was doing The Outsiders in La Jolla. It was around the same time, but I was a big Ryan Vasquez fan, so I was kind of following it for him too, just as a fan. And yeah, I was fully doing another show in LA. That show closed. I had the post show blues. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing next. And sure enough, this came in my inbox like real quick after that, and it was for the Broadway cast. And I was like, oh my God, like they need this lawn track and someone that can play middle Noah, and it's understudying Ryan Vasquez. And I was like, oh my God, like how full circle. So yeah, it was very interesting because I was obviously still in LA. So I taped, for the Notebook for pretty much my whole process until they called me in one time in person. They said, can you be in New York on Monday? I think it was Friday. And I went in and I worked with the team on all of the material that I did on the tape. And worked with Michael Greif. I met Michael for the first time, and I think I'd met Michael maybe once before in a callback, but you really talked to him for the first time in this work session. Um, which, are you familiar? Like, work session, they like work with
Yeah,
you
yeah,
for like
of
3 minutes with
course,
them.
yeah.
So it was really fun. So I got to meet them, and Ingrid Michaelson was there, and Becca, and pretty much the whole team, Shelly and Carmel, our orchestrator, and I did all of the material, and I really at that time too. This goes back to kind of the Carnegie Mellon thing. I really felt like, I didn't know what the out of town looked like. There was no soundtrack. There was no bootleg to see for me at that time. So I really was like, I'm just gonna do me. I'm just gonna really go in and unapologetically do my version of Noah and my version of Lon. And I would say from there, like, very little of that initial audition ended up making it to probably my final drafts of each character. But I really think, I was so, and I think it was also because this is interesting too, but I've always done well in auditions when I think anybody would, when you don't need the job. I felt like I obviously really wanted it and I really loved it, but I had a life in LA. I didn't know how it would work if I had to move my whole life to New York and do the whole thing. So glad I did. But I was like, I went in really comfortable and calm. And I went in and I basically was like, here's me, here's my take, and um, you know, I hope you like it, and this is what I made for you. And they really responded to that. I really felt so free in that audition because I didn't feel like I was trying to give them anything that I saw in another production that I was trying to carbon copy or whatever. I was just like, here's this version. And they really liked it. And I found out in the morning. I mean, it was the quickest process of all time. I mean, and I think many actors can attest, you go through like 5, 6 callbacks for things and they break your heart on, like, callback 6. And it's like, wow, this is the fastest thing ever. I literally was in LA 2 days ago. Actually, yeah, 2 days ago. Yesterday I did this audition, and now I got this call that I'm going to Broadway and that they were gonna give me a little relocation fee to move, and I moved my whole life from Los Angeles to New York, and for that job, which was amazing, and I'm so glad I did. It was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and it was your debut on top of
A
all of
big
that,
debut,
which is, like,
absolutely. Getting
crazy.
that call was very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, take us to that call, like, what was your reaction to that? Like, especially, like you were saying, because you went in so chill and you're like, "I have this life in LA, like, if I
Yeah.
get it, like, okay," and, like, it was your Broadway debut.
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool. I basically, after my callback, that my one work session, I went out because I was only there for the night. I was going back in the morning,
Right, right.
So I went out that night alone to one of my favorite jazz clubs in the city called Smalls. Shout out to Smalls. And I went alone, and I had really taken the audition seriously, so I was really on my, I was eating healthy and not drinking and doing all the thing. My lifestyle was really clean, and I went out and I like had some beers, and I like went out and I just was like, I got to forget about this. It's like, it is what it is. I'm going back in the morning, did my thing. Had a few beers, woke up in the morning early for a flight because I was flying back to Los Angeles. So I was a little groggy. And and I've gone through this road so many times where you don't get that big job. So, you have to forget about it. And so I wake up to go to the airport, and I had a missed call from my agent. And so I call, which is, they're going to deliver you the news, good or bad. And so I didn't know what it was going to be. And I call my agent back, and they're like, hey, what'd you, oh, I forgot to tell you. So the night before I go to Smalls, I went to my favorite restaurant in the city, PJ Clark's. And so I went to PJ Clark's and then to Smalls. And anyway, so I call my agent. She's like, "Hey, how was your night?" I'd already told her right after my audition how it went. I was like, "It went well. We'll see." And so now it's the next morning. I call her, and she's like, "How was your night? What'd you do?" And I was like, "I went to PJ Clark's and Smalls, and I had some fun, and it's great. And I'm going back home." And she's like, "Well, I hope you want to go to PJ Clark's more often because you're going to Broadway." And I lost it in my hotel room. I fell to my knees. and I'll never forget it. I thought that was such a cute way to deliver it. Shout out Grace Stewart at Buckwald, but
It's so cute.
emotional even thinking about it. I mean, it's like, it's that call you wait for of like you're going to Broadway is such a big thing. And for me, I didn't my track of out of school to getting to Broadway was a little untraditional. I didn't do a lot of musicals. I did one right before that. And thank God I did because it got me in the vocal shape that I needed to be to start the Notebook. And then even throughout the year, grew so much vocally into that music. Middle Noah is a beast of a track, and got more and more comfortable with it as I went. But thank God I did a little night music in LA. That's hard, Sondheim high. And anybody that knows Hendrix track, it's a
I was gonna say you were Hendrix, and like that's insane.
yeah, really tough track, and it was really really hard vocally for me, and so I really was taking my vocals really seriously, and I hadn't in a while. I'd sang every once in a while and taken voice lessons here and there, but not seriously in something where I was really exercising those muscles constantly. So yeah, I mean, I was excited. I mean, to go to Broadway was always the dream. But yeah, it was an untraditional track. I just didn't know it was going to come in that at that time. I had done one musical, and then all of a sudden I was moving to New York, and that was it.
Crazy. And, like, that phone call, like, must have been the most special thing, especially because 'cause you've been doing it since you were 9. Like,
Yeah,
you knew
absolutely.
that, like, this was your thing, and, like, getting to watch you and Kev debut together was, like, the coolest
Yeah,
thing. Like,
and that's another thing. Yeah, me and
the
Kevin.
texts were tears every time.
Yeah, yeah, we made a TikTok on it, but basically that was crazy too because, Kevin and I were best friends in college and now ever since. Love that guy. And we, we're kind of doing a really similar career path all throughout our early and middle 20s. We both moved to LA, and he was doing a movie and I was doing a movie. And then, he was doing the La Jolla Outsiders and I was doing a little night music. Then he found out he was going to Broadway with the La Jolla, the team after La Jolla, and I was doing a little night music, like the equivalent of an out of town, and then my thing ended. And I was like, I'm not going to Broadway, and then
Jokes.
and sure enough, like, within that, I think like a couple months or something, this all happened for me. And then I remember texting him, hey, I booked it. And he's like, what theater? And I was like, the Schoenfelds. And he's like, I'm at the Jacobs. And I was like, wait, let's see how
Next door.
close this is. And he's like, we're like, dude, this is next door. Like
Yeah.
my best college friend that we majored in musical theater at Carnegie Mellon and went through that whole thing. We ended up making our debuts next door to each other.
Insane.
It was kind of wild. So very surreal. And I wouldn't want to go through that experience with anybody else. So yeah. Yeah.
Aw.
Shout out
It's
to
not it's not death at my door, it's living life's dream next door.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Insane.
It was wonderful. It was
Oh,
wonderful. Yeah.
so what was it like stepping into the role of Lon and originating this character in the musical for Broadway and bringing him to life on stage?
Yeah, absolutely. Lawn was really fun. I mean, I certainly once I watched the movie and I saw James Marsden's version of Lawn, the thing that I really loved and that I kind of stole to or at least bring into the conversation with Michael and Shelley was, and this was different from my audition. When I auditioned for Lon, I kind of made him an asshole. Like I kind of made him rich and a little bit like he was the version of life that Allie would have gotten and all of the bad things that come along with that choice, right? What the problem with that version of the character is it doesn't make the audience be like, that is a hard decision. That guy's great too. Like he needs to be great to Allie so that the decision is even harder. Like there's nothing inherently wrong about Lon. Lon's a great man for her. And he is just not her true love. He was, I believe they had love for each other. And we talked about this extensively in the audition process. Michael and Shelley are incredibly specific directors and are actors directors. And the amount of text work and conversation about character that we talked about I think most people would be very surprised about that kind of work that goes on in musical theater. I mean, they are so good with actors, and you're approaching it as if it's Shakespeare, really. The Notebook, which is, to the rest of the world, when they see the movie, they're like rom-com, mainstream IP. But when you work with this kind of creative team, they are very specific. Are you guys in love? Where did you meet? How long have you been dating? What is the relationship like? What is going on at home? All of these things, and you really find that. And luckily, I was playing opposite Joy Woods, who is one of the great talents, I think, of this generation, and I think for many generations to come. I think she's one of the most talented people, if not the most talented person I've ever worked with. I mean, she is the most triple threat, certainly, that I've ever worked with, that can sing, dance, and act her ass off perfectly every single night, and so free. What an actor. I mean, I think most people think of Joy because of her voice, and she's phenomenal. Obviously, My Days is insane, but her acting ability is, oh my god. So building Lawn with her was so fun, and she really was an amazing scene partner. She was, um, I equate it to playing tennis. There's a great book called The Inner Game of Tennis, which I read backstage to. I
Yes,
followed along.
yes.
I read it in the girls' dressing room, like at Act 2 for a couple, a chapter a day or something. And it's about, you versus you. And when you have an opponent, what is the role of each person? And Joy was just the most incredible tennis, partner. She is, to play opposite her and to be serving and have her serving back. I mean, it was just the most fun I've ever had as an actor, in Lawn and in Noah. But I mean, those packing scenes and in Brunch, I mean, finding the love and keeping it in the air and building the relationship and getting more and more comfortable with each other. And, we found a rhythm, and it was really fun and exciting to try and find, even in the smaller Lawn scenes, how can you milk, every single moment of that, and how much color can you get, to really show, um, who this guy is that we don't see as much as we see of Noah, but who is this man that she's making the choice to not be with? Is it a clear decision? Is it like he's this abusive, horrible guy at home, and of course she should run to Noah? That would be a different story. And when I played it in that audition room, I realized this along the way. I was like, you know what? That's wrong. It's not about that he's this asshole, rich, uppity, privileged guy. He does come from those things, and I think he is a little. He's confident, I would say, and does have money and knows it. But I think he loves Allie and really wants that life with her. And I think, I can't wait to see the tour at some point and see what else.
Yeah.
But that was my thing. I really just wanted people to be like, he was great. He was really great. There was a line, actually, when we were building the role, that got cut in previews, which was, oh my god, what was this? So I think it was in Packing. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was in Packing, in the packing scene where we're
Mhm,
on the balcony. It's Lon and Allie,
mhm.
and we're talking, and she's like, I got to go away for a few days. She's obviously going to see Noah, and she's like, I got to go away, and I'll be in court all week. I'll barely notice. And it was this line. I think it was supposed to be read like, "Oh, I'll barely notice. No worries. Go do your thing." But the way it was written and the way I was delivering it, because again, we didn't find this yet. This was like in previews, and like that's what previews are for, is like building and finding this thing. So a part of the original concept in the very early rehearsals was that Lon works a lot, and he's doing the lawyer thing, and he's in court, and like he loves her, but he's like, providing and doing his thing in that way, as a 70s, head of household guy would do. And when we would say that line every night, we would hear like, ooh, in the audience, like we would hear people lose the Lawn option. It was
The
like,
team
no, it
bond.
was not. Yeah, yeah. Team Lawn was out with
Yeah.
that line, and so eventually it got cut. But I mean, I was going to the stage and be like, dude, you were such a jerk to her, and it wasn't reading what we wanted to accomplish. So eventually, obviously, that line was cut, and from that line being cut, that was like the really clear thing
Mhm.
of like, we gotta make this guy as good of a choice as possible for her.
Yeah.
And then she chooses the love of her life, even despite this being such an easy, great life that she could have, you know. So that was really the mission with Lon.
I mean, before we had Conrad and Jeremiah, we had Noah and Lon. So there's that.
Absolutely. Yeah. The
And
summer I turned
oh,
notebook.
that's a Bright Turn Notebook. And I also have to say, I love you and thank you for bringing up brunch because that was hands down one of my favorite scenes in the show, and it's so underrated. And I got to bring it back to cross your legs at brunch because like that
Yes, I
brunch
did
is
get a note.
hard, y'all.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. I mean, Michael Graves is so specific that, and he gives notes like, on closing night. The people that were, Yasmin, which was,
Yeah.
Yaz, she's amazing. She was in Rent, obviously, with Michael, and she's like, yeah, he gives notes like on closing. But yeah, so I knew the Michael notes were crazy. But no, and not crazy in a bad way, but very specific.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I remember, but really, when he told me that, he told me to cross the legs at brunch, and it really does do something to you. Like, if
Yeah.
you're like, you can't really see me, but if you're like, crossing your legs at brunch, it does give this sophisticated air. And I had,
Vibe. Yeah.
they give you a champagne glass and you have your wine, or, your wine, and you have your legs crossed. This gives a stage picture that I never would have thought of compared to this. This is a different story. And
Yeah.
so and enjoying life, and it's easy you know, in the suburbs, and it's fun.
I have to say, one of my favorite moments, and I'm forever upset I wasn't in the audience for this, and I have to hear it. I had to hear about it after,
Yeah.
was the champagne mishap.
Oh, which one?
What, the one where it exploded on y'all, and then
Oh,
was it you that I can't remember if it was you or if it was
I
Joel that unfolded the napkins, and then there was just sticks in there. Was that you or was that?
yes. No, I think this was Joy.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was Joy, where like, yeah, it was just sticks, and yeah, and disaster. But we've had many champagne spills, and
because it's ginger ale, right? I think you told me
ginger ale.
ginger
Yeah,
ale.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
warm ginger ale every night. So that was very interesting. I had to take a little break from ginger ale after that.
Oh yeah,
After
yeah.
hundreds of performances of ginger ale.
Oh, yeah, no, that's insane.
So yeah,
This.
but it was great. It was awesome.
Oh my
Yeah, I
gosh.
love
Ooh, this question I'm so excited to ask you because I can't wait for your
that.
answer and to get into your actor brain. So, since you portrayed Lon and understudied middle Noah, two very different characters with different relationships to Allie, do you feel that kind of playing both influenced how you approached or portrayed each individual role? Like, did stepping into one kind of inform your understanding of the other and your perspective of the story, like as a whole? Because I know, like, we joked about this, like when you went on for Noah, you said like, I get why she picks Noah now.
Totally, totally. Yeah, I that was my Instagram caption. Was like, I get why she leaves Lon now. Yeah, I do. I had both of those tracks in my head, and again, this is I chalk this to Carnegie Mellon of like, what role are you telling in the greater story? Like, what are you doing as a service to the overall picture of what we're trying to paint? And knowing both characters so intimately, I knew when I was playing the other one, what the contrast would be for Allie, and what the appeal would be in each one. So my Lon was sat a different way and came on stage a different way and held himself a different way, and I got to, when I was Noah, carry myself with a little more weight and be a little more gruff and be as opposite as I could to my version of Lon that's really clean, and um I wanted to find that a little less professional with Noah, and with Lon coming in that suit, and you know having people believe that I am a public defense attorney, and that I could really be in a courtroom. So I think that's a completely different way to walk on stage than you do as Noah when you run out, even for the first time when you see middle Noah in time when he comes out. I wanted there to be some weight in that steps when you run, and it to look like this guy, has been to war and has grown up in the woods and is like, that's a different way. Like, I don't know what Lon would look like running. Probably some short shorts, I'd imagine, in the 70s, but a different vibe, So just a different physicality, a different way that you speak, you know. So yeah, having an understanding of both really really helped me find the specificity in the other. Yeah, that's a great question.
That's awesome. So, can you walk us through the day you made your Middle Noah debut and share what it felt like to get to step into that role, especially after playing Lon for so long? Like, what was going through your mind that day? Because, like, you're Principal Lon, and you
Yeah,
do that
yeah.
8 shows a week, and then you flip the coin, and I mean, it's two sides of a completely different coin.
It was probably one of the most magical days of my life. It was so perfect. I mean, it was I couldn't have asked for a better team behind me. I felt so. This was interesting too. Ryan is a beast. He did not call out once for 8 months. Like 8 months. So this wasn't like I was doing this early on in the process. I had been rehearsing this every week for 8 months. On top of doing Lawn at Night, I was rehearsing Noah in the day. And so by the time it got around to me going and Ryan was going on vacation, and I knew I had these dates always planned. It wasn't a surprise, which some people have that story where it's like, surprise, you're on for the first time. That's your job. Is like, be ready. I did not have that experience. I knew when I was going on, and that was my first day, so I felt extremely prepared and extremely ready. I was a lion in a cage at that point. I was ready to tear the roof off of the Schoenfeld,
And
and
you did.
yeah, thank you, thank you. I was so ready to go and I will never forget it. I think there was also Alex went before me. Alex Benoit, who also covered Noah, was the first one to when Ryan was out go. I think he was sick maybe one time or something happened to his. I don't remember. But anyway, called out one time. Alex goes on, and he had never called out in Chicago either. So Joy, had never seen another Noah and went out with Alex, and that was an extremely exciting day because Alex broke the mold of like this can be another actor playing this role, and that was so exciting for him. And I love his version of Middle Noah. I couldn't say better things about him, and a wonderful person off stage too, and
He's
incredibly
so
incredibly
sweet.
but when I went there, I was the last to go. Ryan had obviously been doing it. Alex had broken that mold, and everybody's like, "What's the other one?" You know what I mean? Like, what? So it was like, "What's the other version?"
The other version is one.
And no one had heard me. I wasn't in Chicago. Alex was in Chicago doing cover rehearsals. Like no one had even heard me do it. So it was completely blind, except for the covers cast, and the stage manager running that audition. Very few people had heard me sing it or seen my scene work or whatever. And so that first one, I hadn't had notes in my head of doing it yet. So obviously, your first time, a lot of covers will say like, I blacked out for it because it's so much stimuli and you're just thinking about where do I go? How do I hit my light? Am I going off in the right direction? Am I going to make my quick change? All those things. There was some of that for me, but really for me, I knew it was the one time that I was going to get my first pass at it without notes. So in going back to my audition for it, I was like, that was what I was telling myself in my head. I was like, remember how free you were when you didn't have anybody telling you this is how it's supposed to be right now. And I'd done this in the cover rehearsal, but no one had seen me do it for real. And with an audience and with all of the elements and in costume and with an orchestra. I hadn't even heard the orchestra yet. I had only practiced it with a piano. Singing Leave the Light On for that first time was the first time I'd ever heard it with my voice in front of an audience. So I think I was a half a beat late. If you watch the bootleg, I'm a half a beat late on my entrance because I was like, oh, there's a harp there. Like, I was like, oh, that's new. Didn't hear that in the
I
piano.
didn't even
Yeah,
realize.
yeah, some people don't, but yeah, it haunts me
Oh,
because lots of people are like, I heard the bootleg, and whatever, and I'm like, oh man, I was like a beat late, so like whatever, but I figured it out and it was awesome. But no, I mean, some of it you do straight up, you can't remember it because you're so focused on like, am I in danger? Is something coming in? Like, where do I go? But no, I really was so present in that scene work. I will never forget it because I hadn't. I asked. I'll chalk this up to Joy too. So Joy, before I went on that week, came to my dressing room and was like, "Hey, how's it going? How you feeling?" And she basically was like, "Here are the things that are really important that we hit in the scene, and I don't want to run these with you. And like, I want to do this for real when we're on stage." And we talked through what we wanted to accomplish, but we had never read it for real together. So when it got to the tea scene and the lift and the rain and the whole thing. That was us experiencing it for the first time. And
wow.
it was, oh my God, again, back to the tennis of Joy. I mean, me and Joy taking jabs at each other. And that was the thing also, like, in a little bit different than how I, you know, I think Ryan's version is incredible and a totally different version than my Noah. And that was something that I had to find with Joy of like, how do we respond to these things? And, I always liked in the movie that Ryan Gosling is like a smartass and he's witty and quick and jabs her. He's like, I know you're engaged. I knew you were here. I knew, you were the whole time. And like, I don't think you'd be here if you didn't feel something. Like I'm gonna be, and he calls her out. And I remember doing that with Joy for the first time and her being rocked, like, whoa, like, getting these hits and the playful banter was so fun and so sexy and just a blast. And that to me was, I felt like I was in the movie in that way. Where in the movie, there's a scene where basically they're having beers, and Noah and Allie are basically talking. She's like, "I'm a married woman. You wouldn't make a pass at me," and he goes, "Not yet." And like to me, that said, when I watched the movie, I was like, that tells me everything I need to know about Noah Calhoun. Like it's cheeky, it's sexy, it's fun, but he's in love with her. Like it's out of love. But that first scene of coming back together, it is totally jabs on jabs on jabs, and it's a tennis match, and it's a blast to watch. It's Becca's incredible script that helps us do it. But yeah, it's amazing.
It's incredible. So we're gonna do a quick rapid fire for your favorite scene, song, and moment in each of your respective characters.
Sure. Okay. Um, Favorite song for Lawn? I mean, clearly for Lawn.
Yeah, you can go Lon and then Noah, and we'll go through each.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. For Lawn, favorite song would have to be Coda. I mean, or Will You Trace the Skies? Which also, I mean, it did haunt me too. That was always like in a kind of strange part of my voice because it's right on like the break. It's like between falsetto and a full voice, which any guy out there that's listening to this is like, I
Yeah.
feel that. But like that was always like right before I was always a little bit stressed about it, but it was like kind of nice to sing and it was really fun. And some nights were better than others, but it was that was a really, Coda is a magical moment where you get to go. And it felt very Michael Grive too. I obviously know Rent and love Rent. And just one of the most magical moments in musical theater as a whole is when the cast comes down and sings 525,600 minutes in a row at the proscenium. And when I heard in the rehearsal, like this makes me emotional too, but like when I heard that like we were gonna do that, I was like, we're gonna do the proscenium, sing the finale in a line like Rent. Like, I mean, that's like the most magical thing you can be a part of. And it's like, it's in a lot of the photos, and it's just like, I can't believe I got to do that in a Michael Greif show. Like, be a part of that moment. So being there for Coda and you're seeing the audience just like broken down.
Oh, yep.
They've been
I was
through the
there.
whole
I lived
thing.
it.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God. Like, they've been through something and you're with them and you're just there and that you just have them. That to me is a magical feeling.
Yeah.
So for that was great. And then what was the other one? Favorite scene?
Favorite scene and then moment in the show.
Man, packing lunch.
Yeah, my answer is brunch.
Your answer is brunch. I think packing was a more fun thing to mine. Like
Yeah,
it was like it was like there were so many moments in there. Brunch, I was having a blast. So I was drinking my champagne and loving on Joy Woods, and it was
yeah,
easy to act. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was
Oh,
great. And then for Noah, Forever. I mean, come on.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Forever
yeah.
is just that whole sequence. And that's my answer for both. T scene into Forever is just
It's
I
perfect.
mean, when you get to like, and it's also interesting because in musical theater, it just kind of breaks the structure. You usually don't go that long without applause. Like the audience goes that entire sequence of them meeting and getting to know each other, and then her almost leaving, and then him bringing her back, and then them going out to the rain and doing a lift, and it's crazy, and you get to go through this whole thing. And once you get to the ending of "Don't ever leave me again," like it's like you as an actor are like, I made it. Like I got through it.
You
Yeah,
did
so
it.
that's crazy. But yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
certainly.
that's awesome. So, looking back on everything, what was your highlight moment from The Notebook?
Oh, the people. I learned so much. Like, I mean, again, I was kind of newer to Not to musical theater. I've been doing it a while, but to this kind of like a Broadway thing, there were so many people that had been on Broadway in multiple shows, and Andrea Burns and Yaz, and you know, I mean, Ryan and John, pretty much everybody, and it was just this incredible learning experience for me, and so every day getting to go to work and play. I mean, that was it, and certainly going on for Noah. I mean, the amount of support too from the fans and people that were at that stage door that just were so gracious to me that when you see an understudy, some people aren't thrilled. They're like, okay, I got someone different than what is on the album or whatever. And I get that. I hear that. There's some performers that I hope I get to see when I see them, but I also love seeing an understudy. But people were so sweet to me and so supportive during that chapter for me. And yeah, just absolutely loved it. And my dressing room, I mean, come on, the Penthouse
The
Boys,
penthouse was,
five for
I
five.
know.
Yeah, come on, live for five every day, and
You read my mind. We were just about to get into that.
I
Oh,
can't wait. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was great. But I mean, the experiences off stage were just as fun as on, and yeah, just a blast of a cast.
oh, the moments in the penthouse are like the greatest. I mean, and
Yeah,
now with you on, all the penthouse boys have made an appearance on the pod, which is really special.
yeah. Oh, hey, am I the last one?
Yeah, you're the last one.
Oh my God, the the odyssey is over. That's
It's
amazing.
over. But yeah, so of course we got to touch on Live for Five quickly because not only did Notebook turn you into a Broadway star, but it, like turned you into a podcast host and my favorite podcast host on my podcast. Like, how did that
Thank
come to be? Like, how did that kind of spark for you?
Yeah, so I mean, me and Carson were always causing ruckus, and we
Yeah.
were the ones in the cast that were like, all right, let's keep it fun and light, and let's all hang, and we were kind of the party people, and we wanted to bring the fans into the fun we were having, and so we were in the dressing room, and I've always like had an affinity for going live for some reason. I think it's like kind of chaotic and fun, uh and cheeky, and I was like, all right, let's do it, like fuck it. And so we would go live, and basically we were going live for like a couple minutes, and we were getting these fans, and then some people from other shows, and Outsiders and Gatsby and Six, and all these people were like, oh my God, like they'll tune in and whatever. And so then we started combining with them and being like, we would start sending invites out and be like, hey, like we're going live and blah blah blah. And I remember like there's this big Don Draper from Mad Men meme of like him like pitching, and he's like when he has a great idea, it's like a whiteboard, and
Yes, yes,
I
of
remember,
course.
yeah, and I remember like in the middle of the night, I like came up with the name Live for Five because anybody that watches that knows theater knows that the over the
Big
intercom
five.
go in, yeah, they say 5 minutes places, and then you say thank you five. So we wanted to go live for five, and every time we're there, we say thank you five. That was the tradition.
Oh,
So yeah, so we did it, and it kind of blossomed. Like we had a lot of casts on there. We had people from our cast, like in different dressing rooms in the building coming on. It was fun to see everybody doing their thing before a show and ask them questions and hang out with just like, the Outsiders or, or Six or Gatsby or whatever. And just, pick everybody's brain and saying like, how's your show going? What's up? And, it's a great community. So, we wanted to bring the fans in, and you'd be so surprised. I mean, the people that came to the stage door
yeah.
were so stoked to see, me and Carson, not even because of the show, but because of
Because of
Live
what?
for Fun, and to
Yeah.
see us, just have fun with them at the stage door in the same way that we do, behind a screen.
Oh, it's awesome. So, alongside from being a star on stage, you've also been a star on screen and starred as Peter Sampras in the Warner Brothers Oscar-nominated film King Richard. So, you portrayed a real-life tennis legend. So, what was it like stepping into the shoes of such an iconic figure, and how did you approach bringing him to life on screen while honoring his story as well as the stories of Venus and Serena Williams?
Yeah, yeah, totally. That was kind of my first gig. Was playing Pete Sampras, and it was uh, basically it was an interesting process. Like I auditioned in LA. This is pre-COVID, so I auditioned in person in LA, and I look kind of close to Pete Sampras. This is also I had really curly hair at the time. I blow dry it out now, little secret, but that for your fans, but basically, I had really curly hair. I really looked like him. I went in. They were like, "We really like you." Blah blah blah. I found out I got it like I don't know, a couple weeks after my first audition, and this is right before COVID. So I find out I got it, and then I think within the same 24 hours I was hired and fired basically, because it was like you like they were like, hey, the movie's not happening, like something's going on in LA or the country, and we can't shoot right now, so the movie's on hold, and Will Smith has a schedule, so I don't know if this is happening anymore, but thanks for coming in. Like, if it happens, we'll let you know. So then a couple weeks after that, and now it's like full COVID, and like we know the world is shut down. They are like, stay available because I think we can make this work with masks, and we're figuring out the protocols, blah, blah. So I was kind of on hold, and I was from LA anyway, and that's where it was filming. We were filming in LA. So I was like, oh, I'll chill here and hang with my family and hang. And then we filmed it during COVID. And so, yeah, I took tennis lessons and, did the thing. Um, and I hadn't played tennis before. And uh, it was interesting. And then, took the lessons at, I think the Beverly Hills Country Club or something. And then went to set and filmed and got to work with Will Smith and oh my Tony Goldwyn, who in The Inheritance, a huge theater guy, and an amazing with craft. I mean, that I watched him work in the same way that I'm telling you about, like Joy Woods and the talent that she brings to a scene, and like wow, how much I learned from her, and what a tennis partner, pun intended. Uh, you know, I watched Tony do that with Will. Like I watched Will Smith work with, who is an amazing actor, um, but I watched Will Smith work with a different kind of actor, someone that comes from the stage, and someone that is like, what is this scene about? And what are we trying to do here? What are we doing to each other? What is our relationship? And that kind of work, I was like, theater actor. I get that. I was like, home. So I was getting this really cool experience of like working with Will, who's nothing but kind to me. And had this experience of working with this giant movie star and talking to him about film and being on set and cameras and all these things that were very new to me. I was like 22 or 3 or something. And then Tony Goldman, who's a master of theater and also TV and film, but like comes from this different kind of craft, I would say. Both are craft, but this different way of looking at the work. And I loved it. I was like, oh my God, what an incredible privilege for me to get to soak all this up. So yeah, it was wonderful. It was great.
Oh, that's incredible. And last but not least, looking back on everything you've achieved in this industry, what advice would you give your younger self entering the
Ooh,
industry?
that's a great question. What advice would I give my younger self? I would say when you have the hardest days in the theater, when things, when you crack or when you know, miss a line, you go to the white room,
Mhm.
uh, you're not going to remember in a year the feeling that you're feeling right now. Let it go and take big risks, because to me, especially in musical theater, those are my favorite performances to watch. Are when people really just throw it all on the line. So take the big risks and don't beat yourself up too hard.
Oh, I love it. Chase, thank you so much for joining me on the Inspiration Show. You're truly one of my favorite people and performers. I'm just in constant awe of your incredible talent and your journey, and you've had such a meaningful impact on my life and my theater journey. Thank you for teaching me how to chase life and to always
Thank
keep
you
the light on.
so much.
You're
Thank
the
you for having me.
greatest.
This was a blast. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
thank you for inspiring me.